and I call the meeting of Wednesday, May 28th to order. Sorry we're running a little late. In terms of the agenda, I do have a request for continuance of item 2F, which is 2101 Mountain Avenue. It's been continued indefinitely, so if anybody in the audience is for that item, we're not going to hear it today. Under announcements and appeals, I have no announcements and appeals. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the staff hearing officer on items not on the agenda? No? Seeing no one, we'll go to the first item, which is 729 Eucalyptus Avenue. Would the applicant like to come up?
Ready? So the proposal before you today is a request for a modification for a garage. It was originally a carport built in 1954, and it was converted to a garage without a permit sometime before 1998. And so the current garage encroaches into the required front setback. It has a 20-foot required setback and it encroaches about 1.5 feet into the front setback. So the proposal before you today is actually to improve that encroachment by moving the garage door back, or the entry into the garage and the garage door back 3 feet, so it'll only encroach 1.5 feet into the front setback. Transportation Planning has reviewed this proposal. They are in favor of it, as it actually improves the encroachment. So while staff doesn't normally support front setbacks, we recognize that in this case it does result in an improvement to the encroachment. It's also relatively small setback. This is a fairly small lot. It's a corner lot. So there are limitations on where the garage could be relocated. So for those reasons, we support the request for the modification, and we do not have any conditions that we propose for that. So if the applicant would like to add anything.
I'm Rod Britton. I'm the architect for the owners. I know the house has been there for 60 years, and it's framed that way. It's always been that way. It seems kind of silly that they got to move the wall back 3 feet when there's probably 20 other conditions on the same street that have the same 16-foot side or driveway.
Without that, though, transportation does not support.
Oh, I understand. Yeah.
So
it's just silly.
Okay, great. That was your comments?
That's my comments.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'd like to open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to address the staff hearing officer on this item? No? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. I went out to the site and visited the neighborhood, and I agree with staff's recommendation. It's an existing situation. It's between two elements of the house. It makes sense to enclose it and include it as part of the garage. It meets the minimum dimension requirements, and so it is a supportable modification. Like staff said, they aren't proposing any conditions. I don't feel I need to add any conditions given the minor nature of the project. So I can make the findings outlined in the staff report and approve your project.
Great.
My action is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days, and they also have oversight authority of all my actions. And if they felt this warranted additional discussion before them, they could call it up during that same 10-day appeal period. And if that was to occur, Betsy would contact you.
Okay.
Okay?
So does that mean I have to wait 10 days for the letter?
For what letter?
Do I not have to put the zoning modification?
Oh, no. The resolution, that'll be done within 5 days.
Okay.
Probably even before Friday, but yes.
Okay.
Okay?
Great. Thanks.
Thanks. The next item is 1517 Shoreline Drive, if the applicant would like to come up.
Hello.
Hi. Anytime you're ready, Joanne.
Request before you today is an open yard modification of the location of the open yard or for a reduction of the open yard area. This zone is E3, and the current lot size is 4,902 square feet. The open yard modification is requested to allow a 97 square foot deck extension to an existing 95 square foot deck and an exterior spiral staircase. The project was approved by the Single Family Design Board in August of 2013. In the building plan check, it was discovered that an open yard modification would be required. The property is currently conforming to open yard area. The request is to reduce the open yard by 140 square feet to accommodate the deck and staircase. The purpose of the open yard area is to provide usable outdoor living space and/or visual open space. The minimum lot size for an E3 zone is 7,500 square feet. This property is significantly under that at 4,902 square feet and has site constraints due to the location of the current development on site. Although the second-story deck does not meet the zoning ordinance location requirement, meets the intent as it provides usable outdoor living space. Staff is in support of the modification because of the site constraints associated with the small size of the lot and because it allows for a minor expansion of the deck with an exterior staircase that will provide an accessible and usable outdoor living space while maintaining the existing neighborhood character. Staff would like the proposal approved and supported, subject to the findings and condition outlined in the staff report.
Great, thank you. Would you like to state your name for the record and provide any additional comments?
Sure. I'm Amy Von Protz. I'm the designer. This is Dave Delory, Hammerhead Construction, and Russell Leatherman, property owner. We agree with the staff report.
Okay. I wasn't on, sorry. We usually have the other mics, and so this is still left over from the Planning Commission. Can you explain, I know it sounds like this was, the need for the modification was brought up after you did the design thought process of designing the second-story deck. Usually the first thing in the modification request is, why do you really need this? What other options were looked at? And does that apply in this case, or was it the fact, I understand the constraint that the site is small, but that doesn't mean you can build out more because your site's small. So in terms of the request for the open yard, can you provide any more discussion on that?
First of all, if you look at the floor plan, the upper level is the living area. It's not all the bedrooms are on the first floor.
I noticed that. That's upside down.
And there is not a lot of living area on the upper right. So you see, so the owner would like to get more living area for the up for the living space. I mean, if you look at the bottom, it's so much bigger proportionally to, and that's, they spend their time on the upstairs, and that's why we took the approach of extending the deck. And we're not, if you look at it, if you're downstairs, we're just changing the lower level open yard to add upper. I mean, you're still going to get the lower level open yard. We're just adding it to above. So that was, we just felt that this was the best way to approach to give him more living space on an already very small floor plan.
Okay. Then the other question I had, I did read the staff report and saw the ABR minutes, or sorry, the Single Family Design Board minutes, and they were asking for letters from the adjacent neighbors.
Correct.
It seems to me the more potential, the larger potential for impact to an adjacent neighbor would be to the rear, since I'm sure that's where the view's oriented with the ocean and that. Have you had any discussions with the property owner for this one right here?
It's ours.
Can you turn on the mic? Just push the push button. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm the contractor and recently remodeled that home that you're
back one? Okay.
that one. And in contact with the homeowners on a weekly basis, and they have no objections to the deck modification, and if necessary, we could get a letter from them, but there's a big bird of paradise.
Yeah, I was looking at the pictures to see if it
Huge bird of
shows.
paradise that blocks the deck.
Like in this area,
So,
it's kind of,
yeah,
not a direct view.
they can't even see it.
oh, here.
So yeah, it's a huge hedge with a bird of paradise, and they can't even see the deck from their side. So they have no objection.
And if you see where their driveway comes down here and their garage is back here. So the garage is facing this way. Their view of the ocean is the other side. So and when we went to Single Family Design Board, we had talked to them about that, and they looked at the parcel map and they looked at the Google Earth, and they saw that you're looking at the garage, not their view is totally this way, not looking back at his property at all.
So they mainly use the area in what I would consider in front of the residence, the beach, the left side
Right,
of the
exactly, because
Okay.
this is just paving and parking garage area. And
Okay,
that's
yeah, I
why
didn't
they-
walk on that site since I had no
Right,
business
and
beyond that property, so I didn't walk.
And
on it.
again, this is their driveway coming down to and we got a modification for this property too. But again, they're coming all the way down this driveway, pulling into the driveway. They're not looking at their houses comes here and they're looking at the ocean this way. So we feel that it's not, and that's why when the Single Family Design Board looked at it, they didn't feel that we needed a letter from them.
Okay, all right, great, thank you. I'd like to open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to address the staff hearing officer on this item? It's 1517 Shoreline Drive. No, we haven't had any.
No new correspondence other than the
Okay.
correspondence of the staff report.
Okay, so I'll close the public hearing. Like I said, I did go out to the site. I agree with the assessment that the reduction or relocation of the open yard is an appropriate improvement on the site. You're providing an additional outdoor usable area. You're not taking up open yard area for new building area, so I'm supportive of that. Just my main concern was, what does your improvement do to the adjacent neighbors? And you did a good job explaining in regards to the property which I call the rear. So given that, I agree with staff's conclusion and their proposed finding, and I can make the finding. They are proposing the condition that the violations outlined in the previous CIR be abated, and you're fine with that?
We're fine with that.
Okay. And I don't feel there's a need to add any additional conditions, so I can approve your project subject to the proposed condition of approval. And my action is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days. And they also have oversight authority of all my actions. And if they felt this warranted additional discussion before them, they could call it up during that same 10-day review period. And if either of those would occur, Joanne would contact you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Sure. And the next project is 1734 Gillespie. Finally, hi. Good morning. You were here at 9:30.
Yeah. One of the reporters found the, put the black cord on the
So this property is a 6,000 square foot lot located on the corner of Gillespie and Islay Streets. Property is zoned to R2. The ordinance allows for lots between 6,000 and 6,999 square feet to be developed with 2 units.
Yeah, that was so disturbing.
That is how this property was
Also,
proposed
what I
when
understand
it was
is
originally constructed.
One of the family
in
members had
August
actually seen that
of
and reported it
2003.
to the cops. But unfortunately, the cops can't really do anything until it's kind of over.
Here, TV, city TV. Okay, it's gone.
Okay.
Sorry.
At the time of the original duplex approval in 2003, the project required 2 modifications, and those modifications were an open yard modification to reduce the required 1,250 square foot open yard to 820 square feet, and you'll see that at the rear of the property at the back. In addition, they needed a setback mod, front setback mod along Islay Street to allow the garages to encroach into the 20-foot front setback along Islay Street. During the construction, as a little bit of additional history, the building inspector called out some changes during rough framing that were inconsistent with the building permit set of floor plans. So there were some additions that occurred both on the first and second floor. I've kind of highlighted those areas where there's been additions in yellow. This area is on the second floor, as well as this area is on the second floor. This area right here that's shaded in gray and yellow, both these areas are on the first floor, and this is a second-story deck. The orange is indicating the 15-foot front setback for one-story portions of the building, and the pink is indicating the 20-foot front setback for two-story portions of the building. So you can see that there's this portion here that's hatched in yellow that is located within the front setback, and it's clear when we go to the floor plan on the next page. So I've drawn in, and it's kind of hard to see, but this pink line here is where the 20-foot front setback would occur on the second floor. So this area on the second floor is approximately 80 square feet of floor area, but encroaches 5 feet into the required 20-foot front setback. Other areas that you can see that are new are located outside of the required setback. That's the outline of this deck here. So the proposed project includes revisions to the permitted project, including a total of 267 square feet of total as-built additions, permitting 342 linear feet of as-built masonry wall around the perimeter of the property, ranging in height from 3.5 feet to 6 feet, and a 59 square foot second floor deck at the rear, which is this deck here. And the application before you today is that front setback modification.
No, second floor.
The front setback modification to allow the second floor to encroach 5 feet into the 20-foot front setback. Is that clear?
Okay, great. Thank you. Would you like to state your name for the record and provide additional comments?
Don Swan, I'm the agent for the Velasquez. The only comment is that I got involved with it before, after it was all completed, so that was, we're just trying to justify with the city that the work is done per code and per the city standards. That's the reason I'm here.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to address the staff hearing officer on 1734 Gillespie Street? No, have you received any?
No, I have not received any public comment, and I just wanted to say that this building has been occupied for approximately 7 years.
More like 10 in 2004.
Looking at the inspections, it's unclear, but it appears there's been at least 7 years since an inspection that gave them the correction to submit for a revision to the building permit. I think the gas and the electric was released about 10 years ago.
2004, yes, correct.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I'll close the public hearing. I went out to the site and visited the neighborhood, and I'm actually very disappointed with the property owner in the fact that they know about the modification process. They know what the requirements were. They ignored the building inspector's direction to come in and submit revised plans. In this instance, this is not a modification I would support. I would deny it. And it's frustrating to me, the fact that it's already built and there's improvements in an area, and does it make sense to require them to rip it out? You know, it's just, I kind of feel my hands are tied, and I just think, you know, I've looked back in the records, and there's at least 4 occasions that when the inspector was on the site, they were told to come in and submit the revised plans, and they never did. And so it's frustrating, very frustrating to me. But what would it get me to deny it? You know, in reality, would that be removed? I don't think so. So it's kind of like my hands are tied right now, that I feel like I have to approve this project, although I don't think it's appropriate for the site. I know. I'm, you know, disappointed in the owner, and I'm disappointed in the contractor. And I know you weren't involved.
Right.
Yeah, I want to make it clear. I know you weren't involved. You're coming in, you're trying to rectify the situation, and I understand that now, so I'm not saying anything about you or any actions that you took. I realize.
My only comment is that there was I don't know what the combination between the designer originally and the contractor, who I don't know any of these people. Mm-hmm. I know there just was lack of communication somewhere in there between the 3 of them. the owner, the contractor, and the designer. And there was some revised structural plans that were from the original design that were submitted, and they were approved. And it was,
But
believe me, it
yeah.
was a real, I would say, exercise in trying to find out what was done per the original plan and what wasn't done.
Right,
So,
yeah.
and I don't know how it all happened. That's why
Right.
I understand your frustration, because I was the same way, Susie.
Right, yeah,
I
yeah,
understand
it's just
that,
this
yeah.
whole bedroom area, I mean, there's other areas, but this whole
Oh.
bedroom area on the second floor was added, which didn't receive design review. It didn't receive the
Right.
proper
Right.
modifications, and it's frustrating for then the property owner to come back in now and saying, okay, it's done, give me
Well,
my
What
mod.
frustrates me too is the fact that there was things done even through the inspections of the foundation that were, like this addition, this part on the lower floor here, that was all done originally.
Yeah.
And why wasn't it caught? Why wasn't it?
Well, I see at least
what I-
4 occasions in our records that the inspector had noted that they informed the contractor to come in and submit revised plans, so.
Yeah.
But it's all done in the
I know,
past.
Right, that's where we are, yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Suzanne.
Just noting, I looked at the archive plans one more time. The washer and dryer locations in the garage do reduce the width of the garage to 19 feet in both instances. So that would, staff would recommend a condition that the garage layout be reviewed by the Transportation Division to see if it qualifies for a parking design waiver.
And if, okay, yeah, I'll add that, and then add, if the design waiver is not approved, the washer and dryer, potentially the water heater, I think the water heater's out of the way, but the washer and dryer shall be removed from the garage.
Was there any location on the existing original plans for the washer and dryer? That I couldn't find them, if I
I didn't see them.
know where they were
first glance.
originally, so.
I don't think they were planned for.
Yeah, right, but that's what I found too, that I couldn't find, like as I noted, there's 31 items on there that don't meet the requirements that we do today,
Yeah, well, they'll have to find another location
Okay,
if they want washer
fine.
and dryer on site. It cannot,
Or waiver.
yeah, if the
whatever,
waiver's
yeah.
not supportable,
Yeah, I
it's
understand.
clear that they shall be removed.
Exactly, okay,
Okay.
fine, very good.
And I opened the public hearing, right?
There was nobody here to speak.
Okay. So with that added condition regarding washer, dryer, and water heater in the garage, that they need to work with transportation staff to see if a waiver is obtainable, and if not, they need to be removed.
Understand.
I can make the findings outlined in the staff report and approve your project. And my action is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days.
Okay.
And they also have oversight authority of all my actions. And if they felt this warranted additional discussion before them, they could call it up during that same 10-day appeal period. And if either of those would occur, Suzanne would contact you.
Very good.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Hey, Suzanne?
The next item is 1025 North Ontario Road, if the applicant would like to come up.
Morning.
All right. This is a 25,286 square foot lot located in the Hillside Design District that is currently developed with a single-family residence with an attached 2-car garage. The proposed project includes permitting as-built masonry site walls ranging in height from 5 to 6 feet, as-built planter, and as-built fountain along the front lot line and the driveway. The project will abate violations listed in the existing enforcement case by removing a trellis, relocating trash receptacles, and permitting the as-built walls. The applicant has requested administrative approval by the Public Works Director to allow the wall to exceed 3.5 feet in height when located 10 feet of the front property line and within 20 feet of the edge of the driveway, which is indicated by this orange triangle here. The discretionary application required for the project before the show today is a front setback modification to allow the proposed fountain to be located within the required 35-foot front setback. This is the demarcation of the 35-foot front setback. There's planters here, and then there's a fountain here. I think you have photos that might better depict this. So this is the property as viewed from the street. It's covered by an existing hedge. And here's the side of the hedge and one of the existing retaining walls. The street grade's up about high, so approximately 2'7" is above.
That's not really a retaining wall at this point. This is the room. There's dirt behind there.
When you look at it in cross-section, which we have a couple of different cross-sections here, at one point, the street grade is about 2'7". The wall is about 2'7" above street grade. I had it backwards. And then when you go through a different cross-section, it's nearly at street grade, the top of the wall. As you get closer to the driveway, the slope falls away and you have more of the wall revealed. So it's not a retaining wall at this portion, but at the opposite corner it is.
Now the portion that's at the opposite corner, is that 8'7" also? 8'7". Is that going to need admin? It's over 8 feet in the front.
Or 8'7".
Well, this denotes up here 8'7". South end of wall, north end of wall is 8'7".
But it is.
Is it more than 10 feet from the front property line?
This is 10 feet, so no, it's not 10 feet.
So that's follow-up you need to do.
I'll need to do that as follow-up. This is the proposed fountain. It's located on the back side of the retaining wall, well below street grade. Staff feels that the modification to allow the fountain in the front setback is supportable. It's just got a common submersible fountain pump, not very loud, and it's at the front of the property, and so it does not have as high of a potential to adversely impact the adjacent neighbors on the interior property lines. So I recommend approval of the project. And I don't believe I have any recommended conditions. I do not. So approval of the project, making the finding in the staff report, and subject to the administrative approval on the wall adjacent to the driveway that would need to be approved by Public Works.
And possibly that area.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Would you like to state your name for the record and provide additional comments?
Peter Doctors. I'm the agent for Dr. Kuntz. I thought we had gone over the 8'7" and that it was a change because of the new rules on the fences. It was a change, and that actually, even though it's
because it's
below street grade, the measurement of it was different. I think we had the meeting in your office. The measurement of it different. So it's dimensioned 8'7", but by the rules, it's to the high side measurement. So it actually isn't 8'7" per the new guidelines. So I think that it was a non-issue that we went through.
That's fine. It's something that could be followed up. It wouldn't affect anything today.
The fountain really is just a little pump fountain about this big that sits in the water, and you couldn't ever hear it because it's submersible pump and water. Gets rid of any noise from the pump. So.
Okay. Well, great. Thank you.
Yep.
I'd like to open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to address the staff hearing officer on 1025 North Ontario Road? Nope, seeing no one. Have we received any?
I have not.
Okay, so I'll close the public hearing. I went out to the site and looked at your fountain, and I agree totally with staff's recommendation. It is an appropriate improvement. It is technically an obstruction in the open yard area, but in the front setback, but it provides a natural or a really nice amenity in that area. I do have concerns regarding the site visibility of backing out onto the street regarding the wall, and that's going to be reviewed with transportation for them to look at for any possible suggestions and for possible administrative approval. And so that's not in the scope of my review today. So in regards to the fountain, I can make the findings outlined in the staff report. I do want to specify in there that it is to allow the fountain in the front setback, just to be clear. That is just the fountain I looked at, not the fence. So, and staff's not proposing any conditions like they said, and I don't feel like any conditions are necessary. So I can make the findings and approve the project as submitted, and my action is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days. And they also have oversight authority of all my actions, and if they felt this warranted additional discussion before them for your fountain, they could call it up during that same 10-day appeal period. And if either of those were to occur, Suzanne would contact you.
Okay.
Okay?
So is the next step submit to building?
I will give you a call and we can
Okay.
talk about that.
Cool. Thank you very much. For the rest of the day?
Yeah. All right. The last item is 227 La Marina Drive. If the applicant would like to come up. Good morning. Good morning.
This is a 6,000 square foot lot, 227 La Marina, located on the Mesa. It's also located in the non-appealable jurisdiction of the coastal zone. The site is currently developed with a 2,238 square foot, two-story home with a one-car garage. The one-car garage is this area highlighted in yellow. It is existing today. The proposed project involves the demolition of the existing garage and demolition of approximately 255 square feet of the existing first floor and construction of 214 square feet of additions and a new two-car garage. The proposal will result in a 2,197 square foot, two-story single-family residence with an attached 400 square foot garage. The request is a front setback modification to allow the proposed new garage to encroach into the required 20-foot front setback. I think it's by 1 foot 6 inches. As you can see from the site plan, the existing one-car garage already encroaches into that setback at a deeper distance. And by demolishing a portion of their existing residence and reorienting the garage, they were able to provide a conforming two-car garage with less of an encroachment into the front setback. Currently, the the front entry to the house is actually down the side yard back here. So by relocating the garage and providing the new garage, they're able to give the house its own street presence and a porch that actually is visible to visitors. So here's the front door. Here's the new two-car garage. There's the small addition that's outside of the required setbacks. Staff is supportive of the proposed project and feels that the proposed encroachment of the garage will not adversely impact the adjacent neighbors or adversely impact the visual openness of the public street frontage.
And you are proposing a couple conditions.
Oh, yes. Sorry. The project, it does need to comply with Tier 3 stormwater management, and that needs to be clearly documented on the plans, and the applicant must apply for a coastal exemption for the proposed project prior to receiving final approval by the Single Family Design Board.
Okay, great. Thank you. Would you like to state your name for the record and provide additional comments?
Sure. My name is Jessica Kinahan Foley. I'm here representing the property owners, Willie and Jennifer Brummett. And no other comments really, unless you had questions of us or concerns about how the design was thought through.
Funny you should ask. No, I'm kidding. Yes, in terms of the garage, I noticed it's 21 feet deep, and then it's denoted 20, but it's really 18, I think, and a half, 18 or so wide. Since they're building a new garage, Suzanne, can you speak to the...
If you notice, this is an exterior dimension to the outside of the door. So it's actually 20 foot 6 inches, slightly over.
And what about the part that's just the
It was reviewed by transportation, and they did not have a concern.
Will they need to get a waiver?
You said it was 18.
18 and 3/4 is what I have it.
18.9, is that what you're?
18, yeah, and 3/4.
Steve Foley has reviewed the design of it and didn't have any concerns. I believe there's an email on record for his review process and why he was willing to do it. There was some consideration given to the width of the garage versus the depth of the garage. And overall, the square footage is 400 square feet, which would be a traditional garage. But this design allows for a powder room in this area and just helps minimize any impacts in this area of the house, which is all existing. They're trying to keep as much of the existing house in this location as possible. So that was, again, comfortable with transportation. And like I said, that's on record. So.
Yeah. Okay.
If it's at least 18.6, I've seen those.
It's over that, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen the waivers approved regularly.
Okay. Okay, that was my only question. I'd like to open the public hearing. See no one in the audience. Have we received any emails or?
I have not.
So I'll close the public hearing. I went out to the site and viewed the site. And the owner actually was home, so she came out and kind of pointed out the areas, and it's pretty self-explanatory on the site plan. But that was nice and helpful. It is a front setback modification, and those generally, are more of a concern. In your situation, it's not so much as a concern because you are improving the existing situation. The existing carport, although it opens not towards the street, it encroaches further into the front setback than your proposed garage. And I see this is 18.6. My approval of the modification doesn't mean that the exact dimensions are approvable by transportation staff. You will have to follow up with a request for a waiver to see if they support the reduced width in this area.
So the email of record would not be sufficient? You would
I think
need...
it's something I don't know how they document their waivers, Suzanne.
It's a note and tide mark.
Okay. So they would you just need to follow up with them to make sure it's properly documented. But if you have an email from them that says that they've reviewed it and they're comfortable with it, that in a sense is the approval, but it just needs to be followed through.
Sure.
And as part of plan check, that will be documented and they'll sign off on the plans. I just want to let you know, since I haven't seen that, I feel the modification is supportable, and by me approving the modification, I'm not improving the interior reduced dimension.
Understood.
So that's just more of what I'm saying. It's just something that needs to be followed up with and made sure it's documented. Yeah, so when we come back later on saying, wait, why is it only this? And so it's just more of
paper trail.
Yeah,
Understood. Or I guess nowadays digital trail.
Right, yeah. So, with that comment, I believe that the project does represent an improvement to the neighborhood. It reduced the amount of encroachment. It's more consistent with the other setbacks in the neighborhood. And it's a minor 1 foot encroachment. It's not going to cause a detrimental impact to the streetscape. So with that, I can approve your project. I'm making the finding outline in the staff report and subject with the 2 conditions in the staff report. You've read those and agree with those? Okay. And I don't feel like I need to warrant or add any additional conditions, especially in regards to the waiver, because that is just something you need to go through since it doesn't meet the minimum standards. So I'll approve your project. My action is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days, and they also have oversight authority of all my actions, and if they thought this warranted additional discussion before them, they could call it up during that same 10-day appeal period, and if either of those were to occur, Suzanne would contact you.
Good.
Okay?
Great.
And I adjourn the meeting.
Thank you very much.